coming to you live from EconCAD Econ Studios. This is the Unit 1 review. For this unit, for most units, I'm probably not going to do a full-length review in the sense that you have resources, you have videos to watch, you've got videos that I've made. But what I want to do is I want to focus in on a couple of key areas and kind of set you up for the week to come. And then we have questions on Friday during the question and answer, or you can post it to the discussion and I can answer it there online in Canvas. We'll take care of any questions that you might have here, and we'll go through a more detailed explanation of anything that's still on your mind. Unit 1 for micro and macro is pretty similar. We're going to go through the basic concepts of scarcity, production possibilities, comparative and absolute advantage, and the basic terminology of economics with opportunity cost and things like that. So it's going to be pretty easy. In micro and macro, we both study supply and demand. Supply and demand is a little more advanced in micro than it is in macro. Macro is just the basic supply and demand. Micro goes into things like elasticity and putting ceilings and floors on and things like that. So we'll take a better look at that down the road just a little bit in Unit 2. Unit 1, I want to be just our basic introduction and kind of run both micro and macro simultaneously. Okay, so what are we really going to have to know in Unit 1 that I think is going to be on the new test this year that's going to be challenging for us to remember? It's a good question. We're not drawing PPC curves. We're not going to be graphing supply and demand because graphing analysis won't be on there. But there are a couple things I think that we need to keep in mind for Unit 1, both micro and macro. Right? Marginal analysis. Marginal analysis. Marginal cost equals marginal benefit. There's an FRQ that deals with this on the review in the review sections and the review FRQs in the College Board links, where you calculate the marginal benefit from a particular course of action and equate it to the marginal cost of that particular course of action. How much do you give up in one to get something in the other? So that's a really good thing to look at and something that you should be aware of. The other equation that, if I were crafting an exam, I would put on for Unit 1 to make you do some work with is the utility maximization equation, right? Remember how that works? Marginal utility of A over the price of A equals marginal utility of B over the price of B on the last dollar spent, okay? My guess, as far as an FRQ on micro, would be something with supply and demand, where you have a lot of calculations of elasticity, consumer and producer surplus, and things like maximizing utility, okay? Remember, this is margin utility. Sometimes on those FRQs, you'll get total utility, and you have to find the marginal, which is just the difference between the target utility that you're looking for in the previous one. So if we have 10 utils from our first orange, and we have 20 total utils from our second orange, and then we have 50 total utils from our third orange, right? Marginal is 10, marginal is 10, marginal is 30, okay? And then we'll eventually hit some diminishing returns. This is kind of weird that it goes up right away. Normally, they'll give you a question where it goes diminishing returns almost set in immediately with a downward sloping demand curve. But these two things, I think, are going to be key for your exam from this first unit of review. That doesn't mean everything else is off the table. They can easily put PPC questions on. Comparative and absolute advantage, it's another real good one to understand and learn and remember how we do that with comparative and absolute advantage. There's a couple examples that I've given you in the practice FRQs. Comparative advantage is based on ratios, right? And whoever has the lowest opportunity cost has a comparative advantage. Absolute advantage is just based on output. And don't forget, it looks a little different when we're doing it for maximum output versus hours, where we're looking for the smaller number to have the comparative and absolute advantage. So this is what I think you need to focus on in Unit 1. I've given you a whole bunch of activities, videos, both AC/DC and others that are really good that you can use. I've linked the College Board review videos. Some of those aren't uploaded yet. They're live stream and they're coming up later this week, but they're available for you and they're there. The links are there when they become active. Some FRQs are on your AP Classroom, and they're we can't do graphs on there because you can't draw those and upload those. That's a challenging process. But look at the questions, and if you have a question or you want to try just the calculation portions, you can certainly do those and send it to me through AP Classroom, and I'll evaluate those and grade those for you and let you know how you did. Really good strategy also is to go through, probably the best strategy, go through the practice FRQs that I've uploaded, and I'm trying to upload ones that don't have a lot of graphing. If there's any graphing, you can omit that or take a look at it, but try to work through the calculations and understand how those were derived, because that's what your test is going to be, mostly deriving calculations. We'll have to understand the graphs too, to understand various points and varied labeling points, especially in Monopoly, monopolistic competition, and so forth. But we'll get to those down the road. So for this unit, these two things I think are going to be crucial. There's some other, of course, potentially crucial things with comparative and absolute advantage calculations, and who knows how they're going to structure the test to have no graphs drawn, but just interpret the data. But anyway, I'll leave it there for now. These will get a little more at length as we differentiate between the micro and the macro reviews, which we'll start doing next unit, for calculating GDP, unemployment, inflation, and all those things, and then going into the more intricate microanalysis of elasticities, looking at our elasticity equations and coefficients, and going from there. So this is a start. I hope you find this unit useful, helpful. I've got a lot of great comments and feedback from you guys, and that's really been nice. So while you're going through this unit, if a link doesn't work, if you don't understand something, if you want me to do something different, you think something else would work better, let me know, and we'll work through this together, okay? So there it is. It is an Econ Cat Studios production, and we are happy to serve our users once again. Thanks, guys. Bye.